Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us. My name is Tom Robbins. I'm with Kentico, and as you know, if you've been following us, Kentico is very heavily focused on keeping an eye on marketers and providing marketers the skills that they need to succeed. And it really is fantastic that we have such a huge partner chain. And one of my favorite things is really to have partners talk about things that they've seen and really kind of share their experiences and the things that they do to become successful. And it's with that in mind that we created today's webinar with Ben Cash, who's with Blue Key, which is one of Kentico's best partners, who's focused heavily on marketing and a lot of the things that we can do with how we think about marketing. So without further ado, I want to hand it over to Ben so that he can share his fantastic knowledge around going from brochure to funnel and some of the ways that we can look at to increase our website conversions. Ben?
Well, thanks. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for allowing us this opportunity to talk to some Kentico folks and some clients. And I've got some interesting things to share today. And so just to give a few disclaimers here, I've got a pretty wide range of audiences typically when I give these seminars, these webinars. And so some of the things I'm going to be talking about, are inside information that's sort of, a little more complex, and some of the things are pretty obvious, basic things that a lot of you have heard. So I try to a little something for everybody just to make sure that I don't leave everybody out of the picture. So, and also you're going to see a number of graphics here that seem to be arts related. I just gave this seminar for an arts conference, and so there's a couple of extra websites that happen to be art related if you see that theme. And then also the majority of the sites that we are demonstrating today that I have screenshots of were built on Kentico, and I just want to put a plug back to Tom and Kentico in that Kentico, one of the reasons that we chose Kentico as a platform is because it really allows us to create websites that do increase conversions and that allow us to implement these various strategies. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today would not be possible were it not for Kentico. So I'm just going to dive right in here and get started. Okay, so shameless plug, of course, just a little bit about Blue Key and who we are and who I am. We're a team of web professionals passionate about creating digital brand experiences that produce measurable results. And for us, measurable results are the key element. And it's what drives our passion and what's our focus on, puts our focus on websites. And just some of the services that we offer, obviously here, just typical web firm services. And some of the clients that we serve, for example, are Interim Healthcare, the nation's oldest and largest home healthcare provider and medical staffing, and Aurora Lighting, Delta Dental, White House Foods, Blue Ridge Parkway, American Shakespeare Center, et cetera. So we have a pretty wide range of clients across the country. So to just give a context for today's discussion, I always like to think of what we do and what our clients do on the web as herding cats, because of the challenges that the challenges you face are that there's more competition for your share of that customer's wallet, and you're also dealing with an audience that wants what they want when they want it, partly because the internet has turned things into a democracy and they feel in control. They also have short attention spans and unlimited options. So if they come up with Google and go to your site and within a few seconds don't find what they're looking for, they've got thousands of other places they can go. So ultimately, succeeding and winning online means keeping customers engaged and getting them to take action. So I guess the question of the day is, how do you leverage the web to increase engagement and ultimately conversions? So today's takeaways are going to be, first, that websites are conversion tools, not brochures, and I'll take you through some examples there. That there is life after launch, and then ultimately you can improve what you can't measure. So the first section here, just throw out a simple concept, which I think you all are aware, but I just want to beat a dead horse. Brochures are dead. And a website is no longer a brochure, which is what most people think of originally as the websites were. It's a place to sort of, put all your information like a brochure, or just convert what was traditionally a brochure into a website. But we think of a website as more of a hub and conversion tool. It's ultimately your centralized marketing tool for brand engagement. It's a source for all information and resources. It's a hub linking to and from related channels and partners. Source of data on incoming and outgoing traffic and on-site behavior. And ultimately, most importantly, it's a tool designed to convert leads into customers. So, and what do we mean by conversions? Ultimately, results. It should elicit a quantifiable action, such as a phone call, donation, purchase, download, share, etc., and which ultimately should translate into more revenue, more customers, and more awareness. So what we really want to think is, we don't want to think of websites as just these brochures, as I mentioned. We really want to expect measurable results from our websites, and if you're not expecting those measurable results, you don't have the right frame of mind. So we really want to do that. It's very important. So how do you create a site that elicits action? The old method, which I like to think of as the dump your purse method, is when you basically sort of look at your organization and you sort of dump the proverbial purse out, right? Say, here's everything that we have to offer. Here's everything in our purse. And then what you do is you take those things and you sort of organize them into a grid. And I do a virtual raise of hands here. How many of you have ever created a website map like this? And it's basically taking those things in the purse, from the purse and sort of semi-organizing them, right? But the problem is that that's about you and your information, how you want to organize it, right? But it's not ultimately about you. And I think one of the, you can all, any of you who have ever dealt with, in committee or design by committee, know that there's always those people, the CEOs, the executive directors, et cetera, that say, oh, I've got to have this or that. I've got to have my picture of my dog on here. I've got to, whatever it is. And there's these things that people think we have to have these things on here. But ultimately, it's not about you. It's about your audience. And so, what you want to first do with your audience is know your audience, because ultimately you're building the website for them, not for yourself. So some of the questions you want to ask yourself when you're trying to understand your audience is, first, who are your target audiences, right? And I'll show you some examples of of these different questions here and how they can play out. What are their motivations? What makes them tick? What's bringing them to the website? What is the context of that website experience? Fears, concerns, motivations, etc. And what are they looking for? It might be something that you don't even want to show on the website, like pricing or other things, but ultimately that sometimes people are expecting certain things, and you want to make sure that you are at least addressing or providing things they're looking for. And ultimately, a very important thing here is, what actions do you want them to take? What are those actions that are going to translate into revenue, increased awareness, et cetera, and really defining those actions. And one of the most important things is, how do you measure success? That's very important, and one of the things that people often don't do when they're building a website. So it's very important to really think about how you're going to measure that. So this is an example of a user matrix that we create with our clients. This is actually, I think we did this for a venue or an orchestra or something like that. And this is just an example of us breaking these audiences down. So we found out for this orchestra, there was season ticket holders, regular single ticket purchasers, occasional single ticket purchasers, entertainment seekers, service seekers, etc. And then we broke them down with all these different things. And the different motivations and things that they bring to the table sort of help us understand the initial context and how we're going to engage those people, because ultimately people want to feel connected and engaged. And so breaking down these audiences and filling out this matrix really helps us understand how the audiences relate. And once we have all this information, we then want to translate it into a process, because ultimately eliciting actions is not necessarily something we can just put up, have a website with one big giant, buy now button. It really is a process. And so, because ultimately it's still humans communicating with other humans, helping people make decisions, and ultimately, like any good salesperson, asking them to buy. So, when you sit down with a person, a salesperson or someone in a physical place, you get eye contact, you have a conversation, you are building trust. And I think people, when they build a website, they think it's something that behaves in a separate way, but it really still is humans connecting with other humans. So what we're trying to do in this process is really mimic those old world human interactions and try to engage people. So we've developed our own process to do this, which we call ERIC. Engage, route, inform, convert. And this process is something that we feel pulls people through that, and it helps us create this conversation, this sort of digital conversation, and ultimately gets them through to that action. So to dive in here, engage. You want to engage your audience on their terms. What are the motivations and concerns, as we discussed? And very important, what is your unique value proposition? Why should they care? And also, you want to create an experience. This is often sometimes people's first experience with your brand, and you want to create that experience right from the get-go. If you are have a physical store location or a venue or part of your service or product offers an experience, you don't want that experience to start once they actually buy the product or visit the store. You want it to start right there with the first click or the first load. So for example, here's a website we did for a music center in Virginia, and originally their idea was just to sort of create some very event-based website and put some links to information about them and directions and a list of events. But we sort of work with them understanding their audiences. What their audiences really liked was that the overall experience, that it was more than music, that it was, of course, great music, musical entertainment, but the food and the setting were one of those things that brought people back. So in this, we talked about the Garth Newell Music Center experience, and we call out those main engaging areas of music, food, and setting. And then, of course, we have the typical things that we can do with Kentico, with the nice event calendars and tickers and things and technical things that just provide good information. But it's really important to engage those audience members on what they deem is important and what's going to motivate them. And also, just engaging colors and experience. So this was an original watercolor that we did, for example, on the website, rather than just sort of boring stock photos. We wanted to create something unique because the client was unique. Same thing here. Trying to engage them with a unique design and colors and experience. Putting them, in the actual, like they're experiencing that in real time. For example, here's the American Shakespeare Center. We took a vantage point shot of a performance, and so the actual background and the slides and everything in here really pulls you into the space and creates that engaging experience. And so imagery and things that you use, you want them to seem alive. So, for example, Blue Ridge Parkway is a site that we did, and we discovered that what people really cared about the Parkway was the actual experience in the Parkway itself. So, we wanted to, create an engaging experience that really showed the beauty of the Parkway and video and interactive content. And here's one we did for the Skyline Drive. You'll see, again, that vantage point. They can see themselves in the actual space, and they feel engaged, and they instantly understand what the value proposition or what the benefits are. It's another horse center, big engaging imagery. Also creating a sense of urgency with engagement, right? Sometimes with this one, actually, we had some audio that engaged. And then sometimes you just want to spell out what the value proposition is, just in no uncertain terms. So in this case, for example, this was a startup. My School Swap donates 50% of all credit sales to your school, bringing resources to students everywhere. That's why you should care. So the next thing after you engage is that you route. You want to route your audience to the relevant content. You want to design clear, logical layouts with the understanding that different users browse in different ways. This is often one of the big mistakes people make, is they think the way that they browse is the way that everyone else browses. But there's many different ways people think. Just like when you go to Walmart and you think you're sort of, there are people who are very methodical, and they're going to browse through the various zip codes at a Walmart, and they're going to go down to different areas of the store, to an aisle, to a section, and they're patient, right? There's some people who will walk in and don't want to browse through 5 zip codes, and they'll ask the person in the blue jacket, hey, where do I find this thing, and take me there. So, people also have that sort of, ambiguity about or lack of understanding about a website and how deep is the website, how much content is here. So there's that thing that they want to be able to find it in multiple ways. So you want to provide quick access right away on the home page to popular content. You also want to group content based on topic or user. You want to provide multiple paths to the same content. And you also want to start larger conversations. I'll give you some examples of these things. And also provide clear calls to action. And also color and placement to indicate structure and action. So for example, this is an example of engage and route that we did for Delta Dental. In that one of the challenges we discovered in taking them through the user process and that user matrix was that there was confusion with one of their key target audiences, individuals and members. You'll see here we call out individuals and members, groups, producers, and dentists as the 4 main target audiences we were getting to. And those are also done up here in the menu, and there's a variety of other ways that we can get to the content. But we wanted to call out these users. And we wanted to solve an engage and a route problem that none of their competitors were solving. And one of the ways we did that was with this individuals and members, we learned that people were confused about the terminology, that I'm an individual, but I'm also a member of a plan. And the plans were called individual plans. So there was this confusion about what those words meant. So what we did was we actually used both words and then did some JavaScript functionality on top of Kentico to then, rather than route them to a place that might not be what they're looking for, we give them a choice. And we ask a question. Do you need dental, or are you an existing member? So members would go here, and new individuals would go here. So we basically engage and route and solve that problem initially so that we get them to the content that they're looking for much quicker rather than getting them frustrated and having to sort of browse around the site. You'll also see that as we did this for each of the different groups, we engage and route, and we also called out what the unique value proposition for these different target audiences were. So for example, for groups, it was managing costs without sacrificing benefits. For producers, it was recommending the leader in dental benefits. And then dentists, let us help you grow your practice. You see, with each of these different groups, we engaged and we routed. Okay? And then once we routed, for example, to the individuals, we created a microsite using some of Kentico's functionality to really create content information unique to that audience so that we can go deeper into their own unique motivations and needs and actions and whatnot. Here's another one that we did for routing for Blanchard Machinery, a Caterpillar dealer. You'll see we called up here with some JavaScript initially to do new, used, rental, parts, service, and support. Those are the main areas they wanted to route and that people were looking for. And we also combined this with a new way to engage. We found that their competitors were all about the products, and nobody was talking about the people and the people behind the products. So we actually did a photo shoot here to show the people and the customers behind these products as we routed them. So for example, on the used products here, we introduced their used equipment manager and then routed them to do 2 different areas. This is their go-to parts guy. Anybody who did business with them gets this guy. So it engages you in a unique way that you care, and then routes them to wherever they want to go. So engage and route. And also, this is an example here with different people browsing different ways. So some people like to browse using calendar functionality, again, standard sort of Kentico functionality. But then you can also create some functionality that lets them to browse based on series or other things. So just thinking about different ways that you can get people to the same content. And here is an example of how color helps organize information. In this case, the client had lots of information, sometimes a little bit too much, that they wanted to route people or inform people about. So we use color to help sort of dissect the information and have clear calls to action that didn't confuse. Same thing here, using color to help indicate structure and action. And same thing here, we organize the content based on different user groups and what they were looking for. And then also providing, as I mentioned, providing multiple ways to get to the same content. As simple as our own home page looks, you'll see that we actually have multiple ways to get to the same thing. So for example, here's a link here to video testimonials. Here's another link to video testimonials. Here's a link to portfolio, our work, a link to portfolio here, and also a link to portfolio here. And so contact, etc. So as simple as this is, we're giving people multiple ways through menu structure and calls to action to get to the different places they're going. Same thing here, for example, in the menu, you'll see SEO copywriting as an option, and you'll see we call it out here in a little bit more engaging image and blurb. So once we've engaged and routed, we then want to inform. We want to provide great content using a variety of media. We want to address users' immediate concerns and questions. We want to educate them about the benefits of the product or offering or service. And we want to build larger arguments and conversations, just like that digital, sort of that human conversation that we're mimicking. Sometimes you want to, it's to get someone to take an action, you need to build a larger argument. And we also, very importantly, since people are have ADD nowadays and they don't want to read a lot of content, we want to keep it succinct and skimmable. And we also want to increase engagement on the website and increase the time, and the more time someone spends on the site, the more they're likely to convert. So internal linking and related content is one of those great ways to pull people through a site. So an example, when this site pulls up, we see instantly with this slide, rather than just being a nice photo, we actually have a link to watch a TED Talk, which might take you to a video. In this site, we also see we've got a media center, we've got clear calls to action, we've got a variety of resources and information. We've got a succinct way to inform. So, for example, 5 great reasons to attend the National Brass Symposium. So, succinct content that is not going to force people to invest a lot of time to get what they're looking for. And then we have some content that the users might want, for example. And let's say, for example, we're providing informative information. Over here on the right, we have related content like a video that they might want to click. When they click that video, you get to go to a page with some informative videos. So another example here is the American Shakespeare Center, where they have information on a play, and we have the cast and artistic team. I could get a bio to learn who's more about the actors. Here's, for example, stuff that happens in the play, very common sort of things that people would want to know. Notes from the director. So all kinds of, providing lots and lots of content around a certain, to inform them about the benefits of something. And then here, again, sometimes just being succinct and clean about informing, just simple, succinct content, 1, 2, 3, and explaining things in very simple terms. And then, when you have a lot of content, you want to make sure that it's succinct here and skimmable. Sometimes you want to use icons or color, and short bits of content with headers and clear calls to action. Okay? Same thing here with our own website. You want to have short paragraphs, no more than a few sentences, headers that allow you to skim, and then those most important actions over onto the side. So once someone has been engaged and informed, they're much more likely to convert. So what you want to do, as we said, was provide clear actions throughout the site, be consistent for the most important actions, and create trackable actions, meaning that you want to take them to a page, to load a page, or do something that's actually trackable on the website. Sometimes if there's something where they might do something outside of the website or make a phone call, it's often hard to track those things, unless, of course, using a trackable phone number. But you want to do things on the website that you can actually track and put tracking code on. So, for example, with this page we just saw, you'll see that we have multiple ways to do the same thing. Up here at the top, post an ad. So if their most important action is post an ad, post an ad here, post an ad there. Join now and buy credits take you ultimately to post an ad first. And we've got all the different ways to get to that same action, even post an ad in the menu. And as we browse through these different pages we showed you before, you'll see register is the one main action they're trying to get people to do. So as we browse through all of these pages, you'll see that one action is consistent across all those pages. Okay? So let me show you an example of Eric actually in action. So here's a website for retirement community. Okay? And you'll see that we have a variety of types of content that people might be looking for. So we've got quick links. We've got quick contact information. We've got a menu here at the top where they can get to everything. We've got a search, right? We've got video content, and we've got news and events. And we also have, very importantly here, the start of some larger conversations, right, which target certain individual users, and also obviously just an overall value proposition and engaging imagery. So let's say, for example, that we wanted to start a conversation and create what we call a conversion funnel, right, which is that really a digital conversation. Then we would start them here with Senior Living for You and VMRC for your parent. So these are the two main audiences we identified when we were breaking down those target audiences: the actual residents, the seniors themselves, and the adult children of those residents. So we wanted to make sure that we could start those conversations in a very simple way using imagery and a clear call to action. You'll also see that in the menu I could get to those same funnels in the menu structure. So again, multiple ways to get to the same content. So let's say I click on the adult children conversion funnel, and then we start pulling through here. A couple things. One, you see we know exactly where we are, so that people don't think they're going to have to invest a lot of time to get their questions answered. So we're right here at the ready part. And so if, short bits of content, supportive imagery, right, not a lot of scrolling, and then if I'm ready to go to the next step to get the facts, clear call to action here, yes, tell me the benefits of VMRC. However, sometimes in those digital conversations or in those human conversations, we actually have more questions before we are able to take an action. So you sometimes want to create what we call an exit ramp in these funnels. So for example, they might not be sure. They want to take the test. So if they click that take the test option, we're still in the ready sort of that evaluation process before we move on. So is your parent ready for senior living? Short bits of content, bulleted lists, right? Short paragraphs. And then if this answers my questions, I say, yes, I am, then we, again, take them to the get the facts, what can VMRC offer, or get in touch, actually letting them get to that final step. Or if they're still not sure and then we want to continue down this exit ramp, or this path, they can click on Get Advice and starting the conversation. If they do that, here is a way that they can go away from the website, solve that problem, and then come back to the website once that's happened. So for example, here we provide content, download our free guide. So they can print that out, go have the conversation with their parent, and then come back to the website and then go to the next action, right? So let's say at this point we are assuming that they're ready, and they then click the next step to go to that second step of the funnel. And then what we're really doing is here is showing the benefits, right? Answering their questions. And so again, short content, bulleted lists, and skimmable headers, and then the action, clear call to action here, get in touch to go to that next step. But again, we might find that they have additional questions, and so we want to create another possible exit ramp in this funnel. So that might be frequently asked questions that they come to, and they view these things here, and they might go to click on one of these links. And the idea here is that as you install the various tracking tools that Kentico has and the customer experience tools that Kentico has, you can actually see along this funnel, where are they exiting the funnel. And it could be that certain frequently asked questions or certain bits of content that they keep exiting for. And if that's the case, let's get that content in the shorter version of the funnel. Let's get that content in the main funnel so that we can get them shorter without them veering. Because the more questions they have and the more things that they veer away from that funnel, the less likely, or I should say the more they abandon that funnel or abandon the cart, the less likely it is that they're going to get to that action. So whatever we can do to make that funnel answer the questions immediately, the better. And then, of course, get in touch, that final action. And they see here that they're at the end of the process, and they can fill out a form. And filling out a form is one of those great things that's a trackable action. However, as I mentioned, if you have a phone number, which sometimes will just look like a bounce to you, you can actually use, this is actually a trackable phone number that you can then tie back to the website and ultimately extend your conversion tracking to offline actions. Okay, so that's an example of Eric in action. Let me show you something that's very important nowadays, which is mobile is often a different experience. Mobile websites are often about context, and you'll have a different, sometimes, funnel or a conversion funnel for a mobile or tablet experience. So let me give you some examples of how we think through that Eric process and how it relates to mobile. So this is also our existing website, and it's very simple content, much less content, clean actions and and buttons, and much less content. So here's an example of a website we did for an athletic club. This was the desktop version of the website, And you'll see that there's a lot of content, information, and we're providing a robust menu and lots of different information. And one of the things that was important for the athletic club was their calendar of classes, because that's one of their big drivers for membership and attendance and engagement was their calendar. So using Kentico, some of the custom features in Kentico's calendar functionality, we were able to create a pretty cool calendar that allowed them to filter by day, by location, by category, and a variety of things, sort of in real time, and also print the various calendars. So very robust desktop calendar. And we find that through the research we did on their users, when people were deciding on whether to join with the athletic club to see what classes they offered, or they were doing the planning for, let's say, a month or two for their schedule, this is the kind of tool that they wanted. And also, they wanted more descriptions and information on the various events, or excuse me, the various classes and whatnot. However, when they were in a mobile experience, it was very different. They weren't doing large-scale planning or doing research. It was more convenience. So when we created the mobile site using Kentico's integrated mobile technology, we actually created a simpler menu and things that were related to the context of usage for those users. So one of the important things, for example, was locations, first thing, and today's classes. So rather than the more advanced calendar showing, date ranges and all these different things, it was really just, maybe I'm driving home from work and I want to see what the classes are that are offered today, right? So we did some different things with the event calendar functionality in Kentico to then create a simplified version of that class, which is just a quick list of today's classes, and then a narrow by location, and they get a quick summary of who the instructor is, the time, and the location. So very, very simple context of usage. And that ultimately gets them to that action, or which is to attend the class. Same thing here, for example, with this site. We see much more information on the desktop, right? Much more descriptive things to get them to buy tickets and inform them, and also get them to donate, their two main actions. However, the mobile site was very, very simple, succinct, limited versions of this, clear calls to action, and just much more simple ways to get them to those actions in the mobile versions. So that's the first section there about sort of the turning a website into a more conversion-oriented tool. And so what we're going to talk about now is that there's actually life after launch, and that ultimately, while we make websites, I'm going to throw ourselves under the bus here and say that a website, while it's an important thing, it's really not a solution, and that they're just a tool in an overall process, and that the real work begins after you launch the website. And so what is, and that work that begins after the launch is really a process that you have to execute to get real meaningful results, or sustainable results, I should say. And first step in that process is to create good content and a good website that houses that content that's conversion-oriented. So the second step, obviously, is to generate a buzz and drive traffic to that great content. Very simple. Then you want to track and measure that traffic that's coming to the website and their on-site behaviors. Lots of great tools in Kentico to do that. And then once you look at that data, you want to glean actionable insights. It's not enough just to go, okay, great, we got some increase in our traffic, but what are insights in that data that are actually going to inform your next steps? And ultimately to adjust, to make changes to the website that address those different opportunities in, that the data is presenting. And then you repeat. So create good content, generate a buzz and drive traffic, track and measure, get those insights, make changes based on those insights, and then repeat. And that's a cyclical process that actually generates results. Of course, if your website's not conversion-oriented, you're not going to get you're sort of spinning your wheels without a lot of conversions, but ultimately the process is what is going to get sustainable results. So creating good content, one of the analogies I like to use is the dog with the Kong toy. Any of you who have a dog and have played with a Kong toy, you know that you can keep them busy for hours, for sometimes 3-4 hours. You put a little peanut butter or a treat inside that Kong toy, and they will chew on that until they get it. And the same thing happens for websites. You can create horrible websites. If you think of Craigslist, it's a pretty horrible website. There's really not much to it, no design, not that engaging, and sometimes it can be cumbersome. But there's content on there that people want, and they'll do anything to jump through those hoops to get it. So first and foremost, content is king. So that content needs to be meaningful and desirable, engaging, informative, entertaining, and you need to provide some online tools or create sticky content, more video, etc., a variety of multimedia. You also want to generate a buzz and drive traffic. You can do that through a variety of sources, obviously, through search engine marketing, social media marketing, email marketing, mobile marketing, offline marketing integration, etc. And I think the big things that people make a mistake on is they only focus on Google or only focus on search engine marketing and what's my ranking and whatnot. And that's important, but nowadays there's multiple channels, multiple ways that people are going to find you. And ultimately, what you really want to do is go to where people are, go to where your customers are. But the big thing here, and the biggest mistake people make with the generated buzz and drive traffic or with any online marketing, is that they forget to drive traffic to the website. They have these great conversations that happen out in social media, or they send out lots of great email marketing, but they don't drive people to the website. And the reason it's so important to do that is because the website is that place where conversions happen, where actions take place. If it doesn't really help your bottom line or your conversions if this great conversation happens in social media, but it doesn't translate into anything. So if you're looking for that magic bullet on how to translate or how to get more revenue out of social media or email marketing, drive people to your website, because that website is the conversion tool. So common mistakes, like I said, not linking to your website. Providing too much information up front. Typical problem in email marketing. When people send out an email, they put tons and tons of content in the email so that there's no reason that I should leave that inbox. But we want to get them to the website where they might see things in addition to what they see in the email. You also, one of the common mistakes is not creating effective landing pages. Whether, if you have a targeted campaign, you take them to your home page, and you're forcing them to sort of sift through the website to find that, to meet that expectation from wherever that source was, then you're not as effective. So you want to tailor those landing pages and meet expectations to whatever the channel or campaign that you started. And also, you want to go where your audience is. Like I said, if your audience is on Facebook, go to Facebook. Don't worry about Twitter. Don't try to do too many things. Just find out where they are and go there. And that, again, the biggest issue is not tracking your traffic sources. You can't improve what you can't measure. So I'm just going to look at my time here. I've got about 20, 25 minutes left, and I'm going to sort of, this is one of those sections, depending on time, that I can sort of go through. So I think I'm just going to drive through some of these things here just real quick. Okay. One of the things with SEO, just a tip, is to understand Google's goal. Their goal is not to rank you. Their goal is ultimately to provide the best, most relevant information for their searchers, right? So ultimately, if you think that way and you think about just creating good content and helping people, Google's algorithm will sniff that out. And if all you're thinking about is how can I gain my website to Google's latest algorithm tricks and changes, you're only going to get a short-term gain. Long-term, it's about providing meaningful content, and Google will reward you for that. Another thing to consider is creating a keyword palette using a keyword tool. Anytime you just go to Google and search for a keyword tool, there's a great free keyword tool that you type into, and you can type in what you think is the way people are searching for what you're selling, and it will suggest those words to you. It's a lot of great data. Again, just go to Google and type keyword tool, and you'll find it. And this is an example of a keyword palette that we created for ourselves, where we realized, okay, we wanted to target web design, e-commerce, and internet marketing. So we did a search, and we found that web design was the core phrase, but there were also some larger key phrases and like a variety of words that were around a sort of a family of keywords. And we, tried to figure out all of those different words were and really blend all of them in there, rather than what a lot of people do, which is to repeat the same word over and over again, which doesn't really help you, and it looks like spam to Google. So create a family of keywords and key phrases and put them down into a document, and then share that document in your organization to make sure that everybody is speaking the same language and speaking ultimately the language that your customers are. Focus on structure, not style. Google doesn't care about fonts and colors and all those kind of things. They care about structure. So it's important to use headers and create a good site architecture and things. So think about structure, not style. You also want to put the right words in the right places. For example, on our own website, as you saw from our keyword palette, website design or web design was the most important thing. So we made sure that the URL in our page, which Kintico allows you to create keyword-based URLs, which is great. We also have it in the header here at the top of the page. We repeat the words in a subheader, and we also have it in the copy underneath. So, and also in the link titles here. You'll also see that we're doing internal linking here. So when we link to content management system on our Kintico page on our website, that actually reinforces those words. So using the keywords in links, headers, URLs, and titles, very important. And ultimately, make friends and go word of mouth. Link building is a very important tool in your search engine optimization quiver. And the way you do that is just the same way you would make relationships in the real world and have people refer you. You go to people who you find websites and other key influencers out on the web who have content that is related to you and who they themselves are highly ranked, and you get a dialogue with them and you share content and links and information back and forth. It's just simple word of mouth. Okay, a couple social media tips. It's social media, not a megaphone. And I think we all know this guy when you go to a networking event, and all he does is walk up to you and talk about himself, and you don't really care, and you'll walk away. So it's social media in that you want to listen, you want to talk about other people, you want to promote others. For example, this is a post that we did about one of our clients. We talked about them, we promoted them, we linked to their, we called out their Facebook page, we linked to their website, and then lo and behold, they complimented us. So it didn't look like selfless promotion or shameless. Can't talk today. It didn't seem like selfish promotion. It seemed more like we were touting them, and then we got a compliment in return. And you also want to, with social media, connect with key influencers. Connect with those people who have a wide reach and who have weight in what they say, and you get one retweet or one post or follow with that person, and that's going to reach a lot more people than people who don't influence others. And again, link back to your website. Every social media post, tweet, or Facebook post should link back to your website for more information so that those conversions can happen. And you also want to include images. I'll show you an example in a little bit of some stats that we discovered that show that images really help in social media success. And also use hashtags. If you don't understand hashtags, I don't have time to dive into it too deeply, but just Google it and you'll get the point. So for example, here's we call people out, we have hashtags, we link to the website, so use all those techniques in your posts and tweets. Email marketing, create targeted lists and tailor your emails, pretty basic stuff. And one of the great things about creating targeted lists and tailoring your emails is with Kintico and some of the enterprise marketing solution tools, you can obviously even segment those lists or use marketing automation to fill your targeted list based on user behavior rather than waiting for someone to proactively assign to a list. So Kintico is great with that. Be succinct, to the point, and action-oriented. Don't put too much content into the email and drive traffic to the website. And ultimately, also make it worth their effort. Give them something, a coupon, a discount, some great content that they expect, something they didn't know. Inform them, educate them, right? Great content. And also send at effective times and days of the week. And most important, again, can't improve what you can't measure, track opens and click-throughs. Just to move on here, offline marketing and integration, increase engagement and effectiveness of offline marketing, meaning if you have brochures or radio or any other sort of offline sources, you want to drive traffic to the website in a variety of ways. and through QR codes or personal URLs, a variety of things, and provide contextual and helpful information that extends your offline online. And again, goal is to drive traffic to the website. Okay, just a last little bit here about you can't improve what you can't measure. One of the first things to ask is, what does success look like? If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to get there. So first, you just want to ask, what are your goals? And for example, those goals could be, for example, the Delta Dental case study I was showing you. One of their goals was to reduce the volume of calls to their call support center, whether that be sales or support, and they wanted the website to actually do those things more effectively. And then define measurable KPIs. What are those key performance indicators that you can actually use to measure success? So, for example, whether it be the data that Kintico is providing through its tracking tools, or whether it be Google Analytics, whether it's bounce rate or click-throughs or downloads, whatever it is, what are those things that are actually measurable that you can use to indicate? And also, outside of the website, the call center volume, anything that you can do to actually track it, whether it's gross revenue, sales, anything you can get your hands on, the more the better. You also want to define your current and future benchmarks. So for example, if bounce rate is one of those things, meaning how quickly do people exit our website, you want to define, well, if we're trying to improve that, if we want people to stay on the website more, get their questions answered, and the bounce rate is indicative of that, then what is our current bounce rate? If you don't have analytics installed on your website, get them installed before you install, before you redesign your site, so that you can actually see where you're starting from, and then say, well, if our bounce rate is 60%, I'd like to go to 40%. Then set a future benchmark. And then ultimately, how will you measure success? What levels of percentage increase in sales or in actions, do we want to see? So, for example, in the case of the Delta Dental, because as you saw in that engage and route section, because they were able to get people to the content quicker, they got the number of calls that they received decreased, and there was a lower burden on their customer service department. So they measured success that way and called it successful. So you also want to implement tracking tools. It's very important in improving. Grab as much data as you can using Kintico's tools. Lots of great tools there of on-site behavior and things. You want to grab things using Google Analytics. You also want to use the Google Webmaster Toolkit. Google that if you don't know about it. It's a great way to see how Google views your website, and so you can improve. Social media stats, email marketing statistics, customer experience management like Kintico's tools and and the EMS. Just grab as much data as you can and glean those insights. For example, in analytics, you've got all kinds of great information you can grab here, whether it's new versus returning, devices. This is an example of the funnel associated with that conversion funnel that you can actually do both in Kintico as well as in Google Analytics, where you can see how far are people getting through that funnel, and are they getting that funnel action, and where, in these areas here, where are they exiting in the funnel? So that helps us improve that funnel. And you can also, both in Kintico and Analytics, see how people are getting through your website, where they're coming from. And here's an example of the social media stats that I was talking about. One of the great things here was that we looked at our social stats, and we noticed that the posts that had increased virility and that got more reach and more eyes were ones that had images associated with them. That was the actionable insight that we discovered. So you can rest assured that the next time we posted something that was very, very important, we would include an image with the post. So very important to look at those insights. And then in your email marketing stats, whether it's in Kintico or Constant Contact or whatever it is, making sure that you're looking to see, who's opening, who's clicking through, what actions are they taking in the website or in the email, and then seeing, who specifically is opening those things, who's interested, and then following up with them individually or as a group. And Eric actually has a sister or a girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, which is Erica, and that A is for analyze. So it's sort of what I've been talking about with this, looking for those actionable insights. And so the more complete ERIC process is really that ongoing ERICA and finding those insights, looking for opportunities, leveraging strengths, improving weaknesses, etc., and making adjustments or changing strategy. So a couple of last little things here, just sort of things I'll just throw out there. One of the challenges that we often see that people face when they are executing, either building a new website, adding some of that great content, or executing the process or internet marketing strategies, is they don't really have time. And so one of the things I would like to talk about with clients is, division of labor with your resources. And I think what often happens in any organization is that one individual, the webmaster, if you will, ends up being tasked with everything: creating the content, running the campaigns, managing the website, looking at the actual data and gleaning those insights, then creating new content, creating the connections in social media, getting people to sign up for the email newsletters. They have all these different tasks, and often people don't realize that any decent-sized organization already has all these roles within it. And so what you want to do is divide the various bits of labor, and leveraging some of Kensico's capabilities to bring in outside sources to really get more things accomplished with less resources. So for example, you've got relationship managers. And those are the people like salespeople, customer service people, anybody who's out there talking with your customers or talking with potential customers. Those are your relationship managers, even project managers. So what they should be doing is the ones going out and creating relationships on social media, finding those key influencers. They're the ones that should be getting people to sign up for the newsletter on Kensico. For example, if you have someone who comes into a store, that person at the counter could get people to sign up for the email newsletter right there on the spot, rather than one person having to figure out some sort of way to get people to sign up, the webmaster, if you will. So leveraging those relationship managers to increase the number of connections you have, both with your website, your email marketing, your social media, etc. You also have content creators. These are the people in your organization who are passionate about the products or the services. They're the ones who are creating the content. So, for example, if you're a manufacturer, then the people who are actually manufacturing the products, the engineers, etc., they're the ones who should be creating the content. They're the ones who are knowledgeable and passionate about the subject, and so they should go in and they get access to Kensico. They go in, they create a new article, they create a blog entry, etc., and they put that content in there. And then you have your marketing people, who should really be the data analyzers rather than the people who manage the websites. They're the ones who should be able to use the enterprise marketing solutions, the customer experience, the marketing automation, and be freed up to not have to manage relationships or create content, to actually look at the data, to set up those campaigns, to glean those actionable insights. So to me, this is just one way to divide labor in an organization and accomplish more with less. So a couple of things I think that I would like to talk about with what's next. One of them obviously is customer experience, and Kensico is one of the great tools, great enterprise content management systems that are out there that offer customer experience rather than just pure content management. And that's some of the things that you can do with the enterprise marketing solution to create adaptive experiences that deliver content and things based on user behavior, or that react based on certain marketing automation steps that are set up. So very important to consider customer experience as part of your next redesign or redevelopment of your website. And as I mentioned, marketing automation is very important. Kensico tools are very good there. And also another thing that's very important is something we call responsive design. There's something that, and actually I'm going to skip past this is marketing automation here, but let me come back to. So responsive design actually is something that is a way to build one website that will function across all browsers, all screen sizes, and all devices. One of the ways that people used to approach, handling the different devices and platforms and things was to build various apps and different versions of mobile websites and things. And that can be very challenging because you have multiple versions to manage. It's very expensive because you're building multiple websites and different content, etc. And it just takes a lot of manpower to sort of manage those things and cost. So responsive design actually works in that it's the same website which adapts across different screen resolutions. And the reason this is capable now is because devices that used to be very limited in their capabilities, like a smartphone or a tablet, where the browsers were very limited in their functionality, now they're much more consistent and compatible. And you can actually build a site that will behave on a browser, and then it becomes, when it's less about compatibility and platform, it's more about the screen size of the whether it's touchscreen of the device. So this is an example of a screen of a website that is done for a large desktop website. And as we change the resolution, you'll see that the 4 boxes, which previously were a little wider, right, now slightly shrink themselves, and you'll see everything gets a little bit tighter. And then, so this might be, let's say, a small laptop or a large tablet in landscape mode. And we then go to, let's say, a tablet in portrait mode or a very, very small, tiny laptop. And you'll see that what we actually did between these two was you'll see that the search box at that point became very important. And so we put the search large here, and we put the menu here. And now we have 2 columns of content. And we also prioritize the menus, whereas here there were 5. Now there are 3. And you'll also see that we simplified some of the navigation up here. And now we go to maybe a portrait, or excuse me, landscape in a smartphone, etc. And we still have the 2 columns, etc. And it's just getting more compact. And finally, we go to what you would look like on a smartphone. Very small, very simple. This is the same website, growing and behaving across different screen sizes. And that's called responsive design. There's also lots of, the nice thing about Kentico is it allows us to do responsive design, and there's also lots of great tools inside of Kentico that allow you to create different versions of screens and actually preview some of those different mobile screens. I think that's in the latest version, 7.0 of Kentico, that allows that. Some really cool stuff in that latest version, actually. And then that last thing I was talking about with the marketing automation, which is one of those Kentico tools, an example of a screen for marketing automation where you can set up different iterative processes so that a new lead comes in, you send them an email, you wait for a period of time. If they take an action, then you can sort of have an if or an else, and you can really create a myriad of circumstances so that it's really reacting in real time to the behaviors and actions of your website visitors, which means that you can have one marketer who can set these up and manage thousands of, tens of thousands even of customers and their actions, rather than having an entire marketing team trying to look at the actions and sort of adapt and make changes. So the automation is a very, very important tool moving forward in any successful online campaign. So I'm going to open it up for some questions here.
So for questions, folks should feel free to send it in. I know we had a couple of folks who sent me a question that I wanted to pass on to you, Ben. You talked a little bit about social media and kind of posting. The question that they were posing was really around the posting frequency, and it's kind of the age-old question of, should you repost the same content twice, once, every couple of days? I mean, what's your feeling on that?
Sure. Well, I think with anything, if we understand that content is king and content drives everything, that it's more about the quality of what you're saying than the quantity. So, if you had to go down to a minimum of 1 tweet or post per week, and it was something really, really amazing, then people are really going to value what you say, and you're going to get much more engagement for that one post than you would for, let's say, a post or tweet several times a day or once a day that's sort of less interesting. but I think there's a balance that you want to find somewhere in there. And ultimately, the point I was trying to make with that is that obviously the things we want to leverage with social media is that it's a great way to get a conversation started and to get lots of eyes on that conversation, engage a lot of people. But ultimately, the important thing for us to drive revenue and ultimately conversions is to get people to leave that conversation and come to your website. So the content that we put on the social media that we start that conversation with should be very succinct and more of a teaser, and the more elaborate content that really answers deeper questions and starts that provides more insight is on your website. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I don't actually see any other questions out there, and we're kind of right at the top of the hour here. So, Ben, I definitely want to thank you for sharing. I think this was a great presentation. And for those of you that are listening, we will make the video available over the next couple of days, obviously barring any wonderful technology issues. And as always, Ben, if people were interested in getting in touch with you, you have your information up. Is there any other things you'd like to tell people?
No, just that again, I might be a little biased, but Kentico is a great platform and great tool that actually allowed us to do a lot of things that I talked about today, and I would encourage people to learn a little more about Kentico.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Ben, and everyone have a great day, and we're going to go ahead and end the webcast.